The European Union wants world leaders this month to help tackle the migration crisis that has seen more than 500,000 refugees enter the EU since the start of the year, threatening to dismantle Europe's open internal borders agreement. Leaders of the world's 20 biggest economies, G20, are to meet in the Turkish sea resort of Antalya on November 15 to 16 to discuss economic and tax cooperation, trade, and climate change. But top officials that will represent Europe at the meeting, the chairman of EU leaders Donald Tusk and the head of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, will also push for a global response to the migration challenge faced by Europe. The G20 has a specific responsibility to ensure that international organizations assisting refugees have the necessary financial means, they said in the letter to other EU leaders, spelling out the agenda that will be pursued by Europe. But once in Greece or Italy, they can travel across 26 European countries, called the Schengen area, with no restrictions because the Schengen Agreement countries have no internal borders or passport controls. Several EU countries, including Germany and Austria, have now reintroduced some border controls to manage the migration flows. The only way not to dismantle Schengen is to ensure proper management of EU external borders, Tusk wrote in a letter to EU leaders this week. We must do all we can to keep Schengen intact, and so any initiative that may lead to the re-establishment of borders within Schengen should be withheld, he said. The EU wants Ankara to keep them from going to the EU and take back those rejected by Europe. As an incentive, it has offered Turkey the prospect of faster progress on its bid to join the EU and on visa-free travel to the EU. EU leaders are to hold talks with African leaders on controlling migration on November 9 in the Maltese capital Valletta, and at an informal meeting of EU heads of state on November 12 in Brussels, just days ahead of the Antalya G20 summit.